Yeah. Okay. So we talked a little bit about winter driving yesterday, and we covered that and we watched a video on winter driving. Today we're starting off in section 2.13.1, and it's going to be page 2-34 of the Pennsylvania CDL Manual Section 2. Share this. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's good to hear. Okay. All right. So all right. So let's see here. Guess I better get the attendance out of the way, huh? Second. Okay.
Even on days like this, driving is one of the most dangerous things most people will ever do. But when the weather takes a turn for the worse, so do the odds of being involved in a motor vehicle collision. You're familiar with the routine. When it rains or when it snows, when heavy fog, police officers become very busy. Changing road conditions and human error combine to create traffic nightmares and personal tragedy. Is it preventable? Well, most of it is. Smith System's time-tested formula for collision avoidance can be extremely valuable when the weather changes for the worse. It's all quite practical and logical, and it's all very easy to apply. But above all, this kind of experience. Most places around the world, fair weather driving days overwhelmingly outnumber days the weather is less favorable. And that's most people only have one set of driving skills, and they use those skills with little or no adjustment in whatever weather may come their way. This is the same road, but as you can see in a significant number of ways, it is altogether different. As the seasons change and as nature brings a variety of weather conditions their way, good drivers adapt their driving skills to cope. Even fair weather conditions can bring dangerous driving challenges. The people who take as they drive are making a serious mistake. And how each of the 5 keys of the Smith system can make a difference. It's advanced driving tools at your disposal. Your chances of being involved in a weather-related incident will be substantially reduced. Small investment of your time may very well pay you some very large dividends down the road. Key number 1 is Aim high when steering. And we use this key to prepare for the future. Key 1 has several applications. First of all, when you make it a point to scan to where your vehicle will be, most of the traffic-related problems being experienced ahead by others can be seen and allowed for. We know it isn't always possible in these conditions to see that far off the road. Just a few minutes. First, let's see a significant distance up the road. There are still looking way ahead. Early observation of people losing traction, swerving, braking suddenly, plunging into curbside pools of water, or even seeing vehicles that may have already tangled can keep you from joining them and their problems. And with 50 seconds of eye lead time, you can get a head start on dealing with intermittent fog banks, downpours, or other potential to be approached cautiously. Now, keep in most adverse weather conditions, traction and visibility. I will touch on visibility in just a few moments, but let's consider how Key 1 can help you maintain traction. Same loss of traction that provides so much fun for these kids creates nightmares for drivers. And as you know, snow and ice aren't the only forms of precipitation that can cause a vehicle to lose traction. Wet roads and high or even moderate speeds can create hydroplaning conditions. This happens when there's so much water on the road that the tire treads cannot fully channel the water away from the tire. The tires begin to ride up over the water, resulting in almost total loss of vehicle control for the driver. One of the dangerous effects of hydroplaning is that it is often difficult for drivers to they suddenly need to respond to some change in the traffic picture. It's always wise to anticipate this problem. Reduce your warn, you're more vulnerable. These are an important safety feature on your vehicle. Make sure they're in good condition before you travel. Of traction loss can come in an unexpected form. Falling leaves can separate your tires from the road surface. When the leaves are wet, the effect is even more pronounced. Treat these road conditions with caution. Take it easy, drop your speed, and stay safe. Now, it's always important to look well up the road. But when the weather turns and traction is reduced, it becomes critical. You have some problems in the making to help you hang on to your track, simultaneously helping others to hold on to theirs. Here's how. You are rolling around on patches of rubber no bigger than the size of a postcard per tire. It's more for trucks and buses, but not much more. That's not a lot of grip on the road. Now, this small area of contact is usually enough when the road surface is dry. Streets are wet. Stopping distances can double or even triple. Avoid accelerating suddenly, braking suddenly, or turning suddenly. You can usually count on pieces of rubber to help. You see, traction is sacrificed to sudden movement. Slick. With good lead time, you can often avoid using your brakes when short-sighted drivers must go to theirs. When braking is required, make it a habit to use your brakes early, perhaps very early. This will often allow you to maintain something that you just may not be able to live without, traction. Now, with that information in place, your actions will become more relaxed, more leisurely. Your steering and braking will become more gradual. All seem easy. And with them, starts with good eye lead time. Early braking also helps you control danger that may be coming at you from the rear. When you brake early, you encourage the people behind you to brake early. When you brake late, you must brake harder, and you will likely encourage trailing drivers to come to their brakes at the very last second. Now, if they though good eye lead time should always be a goal, there are times when foul match their speed with their ability to see what they need to see and their ability to your visibility or may reduce your traction. Speed down, reduce speed to remain in control. Our second key is get the big picture. The timely gathering of relevant information is the key to this key. Following distance is one of the most important elements of safe driving. We associate it with this key because drivers won't have the big picture when they follow too closely. In good weather, we recommend the following distance of 4 seconds for smaller vehicles and often more. This is measured by picking out a fixed reference point ahead, like this overpass you see here. As the vehicle ahead of you passes that point, simply count the number of seconds it takes you to arrive at that point. On days like this one, where fog or snow are present, adjustments must be made. When it rains or snows, add at least an additional couple of seconds of following distance. In fog, heavy rain, or whiteout conditions, don't let your only reference be the taillights of the vehicle ahead of you. See distance to allow you to make relaxed, well thought out decisions. Space will provide margin for error. Required space will always be a judgment call. Never let your following distance fall below our recommendations, even when the taillights of the vehicle ahead begin to disappear. In many cases, when following a vehicle in these conditions, you are tracking at someone else's chosen speed. Do your own thinking and always respect the value of a good space cushion. Every year you see or hear about the results of major collisions involving dozens of vehicles. Well, what usually happens is that drivers fall in behind. People are comfortable not seeing very far in front of their vehicles. Other drivers assume the lead driver can see the road better than they can, and they move in behind. Results are predictable. We suggest that you distance yourself from these packs of blind drivers. Make your own decisions. When the roads become icy, 4, 5, or 6 seconds of following distance may not be enough. The need for stopping or maneuvering distance in icy conditions is easy to underestimate until it's too late. When the road is enormous, give yourself a great deal of space to react to and compensate for your vehicle. By the way, with good following distance, you get good visibility. It's important to remember it's too extreme and safety can be realized with good seeing techniques and proper space cushions. Consider getting off the road. There are times when driving is a risk that just should not be taken. Keep your eyes moving. When your eyes stop moving, their information gathering capability nearly comes to a stop as well. Maybe you can relate to a mistake that is very common among experienced drivers. People tend to focus on what they perceive to be the greatest threat in their driving environment. These elements of your driving world can't be ignored, but other things may be developed that must be seen and handled. Don't fixate. Let your eyes move ahead, as we have suggested, and to the sides to detect important changes in your travel picture. Like these, you can't let your guard down. And when your eyes stop moving, like it or not. Oh, and let's not forget another factor that it's a great deal to some people's lack of eye activity. The condition of their windows and mirrors. Aged, cracked, and broken wiper blades can bring about treacherous viewing conditions. Faulty windows, even the best drivers, to see only a part of what they should. Fog or dirty side windows and mirrors. It's what should be 360 degrees of awareness to an unacceptable degree. Take the time to make sure your vehicle and its viewing surfaces are in good shape before and as you drive. As you know, for many drivers, this isn't a priority until it's too late. It must be mentioned that in-vehicle distractions can radically diminish eye activity. Driver risk. We suggest that you avoid all unnecessary distractions. Our self-analysis. When you're Traffic insulation against mistakes is a powerful collision prevention tool. Would you be comfortable with the amount of space around you as you drive? What if you had a bit more? Would this be acceptable? Well, for most of you, the answer would probably be no. Yet, if you would, see people operating their vehicles with, suggest you make an effort to obtain an air cushion around you as you drive. We call this space cushion driving. In traffic, there is no safety in numbers. If people get near you,
Right.
and when the weather is inclement, either because of lack of visibility or lack of traction, people are much more likely to invade your space if you let them. Safety and comfort comes with a space cushion. This margin for error in heavy traffic. Is space usually available? That is, if you look for it. The next time you're driving, have led us to believe that in most heavy, will usually be 3 to as much as 7 times more space than there will be vehicles occupying the roadway as the traffic is moving. These spaces between the vehicles could be your. It's usually quite easy to find. That's because traffic typically travels in packs. And most drivers move through pockets of space in an attempt to join other. It seems foolish, but it's true. Isolation that we talked about earlier. It's not in mind. If they can't get close to you, they can't hit you.
That's right.
This key is make sure they see you. This key is about communication among people in the traffic picture. People want traffic conflict, and you might be able to help them avoid it. This can benefit both of you. Use your lights whenever visibility or traction might be compromised. Help other people anticipate your intentions. Use them early because people need more time to respond to changing circumstances. Use early too to send important information and involving you in your rear end collision. Clear off the surface areas around your communication tools are only areas of the vehicles around you. It's the road spray you may throw on. If we all cooperate with one another, we can avoid bad weather. The dawn of day might bring a change safely in foul weather. And surviving the unexpected takes knowledge. Dealing with snow, fog, rain, wind, and other elements nature can throw your way.
And that's true, this whole nonsense that I see every day, when I'm out on the road of drivers tailgate. I mean, this morning on the way into work, we're talking like about 7:15 in the morning here. And I'm being tailgated by a tractor trailer. I mean, what kind of foolishness is that? Most tractor trailer drivers have to go through some kind of training on some kind of regular basis. No sense you should ever see a professional driver tailgating anybody else. Tractor trailer or bus driver. There's no sense in it. It's irresponsible. So vehicle checks. Make sure your vehicle is ready before driving in winter weather. You should make regular pre-trip inspections, paying extra attention to the following items. Coolant level and antifreeze. Make sure the coolant system is full and there is enough antifreeze in the system to protect against freezing. This can be checked with a special coolant tester. Defrosting and heating equipment. Make sure your defrosters work. They're needed for safe driving. Make sure the heater is working. and that you know how to operate it. If you use other heaters and expect to need them, if you use other heaters and expect to need them, example of this is given mirror heaters, battery box heaters, or fuel tank heaters. Check their operation before starting your trip. Wipers and washers. Make sure the windshield wiper blades are in good condition. Make sure the wiper blades press against the window hard enough to wipe the windshield clean. Otherwise, they may not sweep off snow properly. Make sure the windshield washers work and there is washing fluid in the washer reservoir. Use windshield washer antifreeze to prevent freezing of the washer liquid. If you cannot see well enough while driving, for example, if your wipers fail, stop safely to fix the problem. Tires. Make sure you have enough tread on your tires. The drive tires must provide traction to push the rig over wet pavement and through snow. The steering tires must have traction to steer the vehicle. Enough tread is especially important in winter conditions. You must have at least 4/32 of an inch of tread depth in every major groove on the front tires and at least 2/32 of an inch on other tires. More would be better. Use a gauge to determine if you have enough tread for safe driving. Tire change. You may find yourself in conditions where you cannot drive without chains. Even to get to a place of safety. Carry the right number of chains and extra cross links. Make sure they fit your drive tires. Check the chains for broken hooks, worn or broken cross links, and bent or broken side chains. Learn how to put on chains before you need to do it in snow and ice. Tire change should be carried when driving in winter weather. So any company that you would go to work for is probably, well, we had a recruiter in the other day, and I believe it was the Werner guy came in, and he said, now this is for trucks, right? He was talking about their drivers on trucks. If they're running in latitudes where they need chains, they'll teach them how to put them on. Okay. So, and I think that would be expectable. You know, I think you would be able to expect that in any case. All right. Now, I don't see anybody in this area putting chains on anytime soon. Typically, when you get into areas where you need chains, you're dealing with very steep mountainous terrain, like out Colorado, you know, in those areas. You'll have police down at the bottom of the mountain, stopping trucks and making them put on their chains before they go up the mountain, that kind of thing. So, you know, make sure you have enough tread depth on your tires. Drive tires must provide traction to push the rig over wet pavement and through snow. The steering tires must have traction to steer the vehicle. Enough tread is especially important in winter conditions. You must have at least 4/32 of an inch tread depth in every major groove on front tires and at least 2/32 of an inch on all other tires. More would be better. Use a gauge to determine if you have enough tread for safe driving. All right. Now, lights and reflectors. When it comes to lights and reflectors, we always want to make sure lights and reflectors are clean. We want to make sure it's especially important during bad weather. Check from time to time during bad weather to make sure they are clean and working properly. Windows and mirrors, remove any ice, snow, etc. from the windshield, windows, and mirrors before starting. Use a windshield scraper, snow brush, and windshield defroster as necessary. Handholds, steps, and deck plates remove all ice and snow from handhold steps and deck plates, which you must use to enter the cab or to move about the vehicle. This will reduce the danger of slipping. Radiator shutters and winter front. Remove ice from the radiator shutters. Make sure the winter front is not closed too. Make sure the winter front is not closed too tightly. If the shutters freeze shut, or the winter front is closed too much, the engine may overheat and stop. Exhaust system. Exhaust system leaks are especially dangerous when cab ventilation may be poor, windows rolled up, etc. Loose connections could permit poisonous carbon monoxide to leak into your vehicle. Carbon monoxide gas will cause you to be sleepy. A large enough amount can kill you. Check the exhaust system for loose parts and for sounds and signs of leaks. All right. Slippery surfaces. Drive slowly and smoothly on slippery roads. If it is very slippery, you should not drive at all. Stop at the first safe place. Start gently and slowly. When first starting, get the feel of the road. Do not hurry. Check for ice. Check for ice on the road, especially bridges and overpasses. A lack of spray from other vehicles indicates ice has formed on the road. Also, check your mirrors and wiper blades for ice. If they have ice, the road most likely will be icy as well. Adjust turning and braking to conditions. Make turns as gently as possible. Do not brake any harder than necessary, and do not use the engine brake or speed retarder. They can cause the driving wheels to skid on slippery surfaces. Adjust speed to conditions. Do not pass slower vehicles unless necessary. Go slowly and watch far enough ahead to keep a steady speed. Avoid having to slow down and speed up. Take curves at slower speeds and do not brake while in curves. Be aware that as the temperature rises to the point where ice begins to melt, the road becomes even more slippery. Slow down more. Adjust space to conditions. Do not drive alongside other vehicles. Keep a longer following distance. When you see a traffic jam ahead, slow down or stop to wait for it to clear. Try hard to anticipate stops early and slow down gradually. Watch for snow plows as well as salt and sand trucks, and give them plenty of room. Wet brakes. When driving in heavy rain or deep standing water, your brakes will get wet. Water in the brakes can cause the brakes to be weak, to apply unevenly, or to grab. This can cause lack of braking power, wheel lockups, pulling to one side or the other, and jackknife. If you pull a trailer, so if you're pulling a trailer, it calls you jackknife. Avoid driving through deep puddles or flooding or flowing water if possible. If not, you should. Now, you always want to avoid, like they're saying here, you never want to drive through standing water, okay, if you can help it. Once that water gets up to the bottom, once it displaces so much of whatever your vehicle mass is, that vehicle will float away. Okay, so we got, it's dangerous business driving through standing water. Okay, now avoid driving through deep puddles or flowing water if possible. If not, you should slow down and place transmission into low gear. Gently put on the brakes. This presses the linings against the drums or discs and keeps mud, silt, sand, and water from getting in while driving through water. So this will keep anything floating or moving in that water from getting in between your brake linings and your drums. Okay. All right. Increase engine RPMs and cross the water while keeping light pressure on the brakes. When out of the water, maintain light pressure on the brakes for a short distance to heat them up and dry them out. Make a test to stop. Make a test stop when safe to do so. Check behind to make sure no one is following. Then apply the brakes to be sure they work well. If not, dry them out further as described above. So caution, do not apply too much brake pressure and accelerator at the same time. You can overheat your brake drum and your lining. You could damage your brakes if you do, if you get a little too extreme with this, okay? You just want gentle pressure enough to keep the surfaces of the lining touched against the steel drums, okay? But we don't want hard braking action when we're doing this. All right, extreme heat will let the driver know where weak spots are in his or her vehicle. So if we're driving in really hot weather, you're going to find out really quick if you've got something, ready to go on your vehicle, like a water hose or a coolant hose or a water pump or something like that. We'll find out real quick, because that stuff tends to go up when it gets really hot. Or if you've got a bubble in the tire, if you happen to have a bubble on the inside sidewall of your tire, a real hot day will make it blow out for you. All right. So these we got to be careful. Okay. Do our pre-trip inspections thoroughly. So we want to do a normal pre-trip inspection, but pay special attention to the following items. Tires before driving, check the tire mounting and air pressure. Inspect the tires every 2 hours or every 100 miles when driving in very hot weather. Air pressure increases with temperature. Do not let air out of the pressure. Do not let air out, or the pressure will be too low when the tires cool off. If a tire is too hot to touch, remain stopped until the tire cools off. Otherwise, the tire may blow out or catch fire. Engine oil. One thing you don't want to be doing when your tires are really hot is being near them. Okay. So this is visual inspection we're talking about. We're not talking about touching these tires when they're under great pressure. If those things here, let me here we go. I'll show you a quick video of what a tire looks like when it blows up. Let's see here. Tire rack. That's the ticket. Nope, that's not the ticket. Let's see here. Let's see here. Please check this out. Hate the ones you can't skip. Watch this craziness. Great. So when a tire blows off, it's like a bomb going off. It's crazy. Check this out. Now this is a device that that tire guys are supposed to put tires in to fill them up, for safety. And this thing works. Yeah. That was relatively, that was a pretty tame tire explosion. But yeah, so you don't want to be hanging out next to your tires when they're really hot. Okay, they can blow up on you, and it can even kill you. Okay, so just just keep that in mind. So air pressure increases with temperature. We know that. All right. Um, so engine oil. The engine oil keeps the engine cool as well as lubricating it. Make sure there is enough engine oil. If you have an oil temperature gauge, make sure. All right, so if you have an oil temperature gauge, you want to make sure the temperature is within the proper range while you're driving. Okay, and to know this, you're really going to check your owner's manual for that vehicle that you're driving. Okay, so it's a good policy to sit down if you're going you're going to be driving a certain vehicle. Is just get that manual, take an afternoon, sit down and read through that whole thing. The manufacturer spent a fortune making those manuals, and nobody ever reads them, I don't think. But it's a good practice. Okay. All right. So you know, knowledge is power, right? So, to know before something happens is always better than to find out, at the moment. So, all right. So, engine oil, engine coolant. Before starting out, make sure the engine cooling system has enough water and antifreeze according to the engine manufacturer's directions. Antifreeze helps the engine under hot conditions as well as cold conditions. When driving, check the water temperature or coolant temperature gauge from time to time. Make sure it remains in a normal range. If the gauge goes above the highest safe temperature, there may be something wrong that could lead to engine failure and possibly fire. Stop driving as soon as safely possible and try to find out what is wrong. Some vehicles have sight glasses or see-through coolant overflow containers. And most of the time these see-through overflow containers, most of the time, they're not part of the pressurized system. Okay. Now, okie dokie. All right. Or coolant recovery containers. These permit you to check the coolant level while the engine's very hot. If the container is not part of the pressurized system, the cap can be safely removed and coolant added even if the engine's at operating temperature. Never remove the radiator cap on or any part of a pressurized system until the system has cooled. Steam and boiling water can spray under pressure and cause severe burns. If you can touch the radiator cap with your bare hand, it is probably cool enough to open. If coolant has to be added to a system without a recovery tank or overflow tank, follow these steps. So you'll shut the engine off, wait till the engine is cooled, protect your hands, use a glove or a thick cloth or a towel or something like that. Turn the radiator cap slowly to the first stop position, which releases the pressure seal. Step back while pressure is released from the cooling system. When all pressure has been released, press down on the cap and turn it further to remove it. Visually check level of coolant and add more coolant if necessary. Replace the cap and turn all the way to the closed position. Engine belts. Learn how to check V-belt tightness in your vehicle by pressing on the V-belts. Pressing on the belts. Loose belts will turn the water pump. Loose belts will not turn the water pump and fan properly. This will result in overheating. Also, check belts for cracking or other signs of wear. This is especially true in hot weather. Cracked belts are safety hazards. Hoses make sure coolant hoses. We want to make sure our coolant hoses are in good condition. A broken hose while driving can lead to engine failure and even fire. So when driving, watch for bleeding tar, tar in the road pavement frequently rises to the surface in very hot weather. Spots where tar bleeds to the surface are very slippery. Go slowly enough to prevent overheating. High speeds create more heat for tires and the engine. In desert conditions, the heat may build up to the point where it is dangerous. The heat will increase chances of tire failure or even fire and engine failure. Okay? All right. All right. So we know that from our lesson that we should use our high beams when safe, whenever legal and safe to do so. Okay. So if we get within 500 feet of another vehicle, we need to switch to low beams. Our low beams are effective out to about 250 feet. Our high beams have an effective range of 350. They're good from the front of the vehicle all the way to 350 to 500 feet out. Okay. Or even more in some cases. These modern, some of these modern, I think they call them halogen bulbs. Man, they are bright. But not sure what the max distance on those is. But know those numbers, for high beams is 350 to 500, and for the low beams is 250. Okay. So just know the numbers, all right? And you guys, when you go to study up for your testing, right? So you're going to go take your permit. You can get on that CDL Prep by Jeffrey Diaz. This is an app that you can download from the Android or iTunes, Android or the iTunes App Store or whatever they call it. And it has a lot of the questions on it that are on the CDL permit test. Okay. But I think DMV is changing some of these questions up, or maybe they've got some new questions. But a lot of those questions are going to definitely be on those apps. Okay. So that one, and also Christ, I think .com has a lot of really great questions and answers on there too for that. Okay. So if you can pass those practice tests on these sections, now for this particular group, you guys need so you need the general knowledge, the air brakes, and the passenger. All right, those are the three tests you have to take. Now for my CDL student, for my A-class CDL students, tractor trailer students, those guys have to take general knowledge, combination vehicles, air brakes. Okay. All right. So railroad and highway grade crossing. Railroad and highway crossings. Now we're on section 2.15, which is going to be 2-36 in section 2 of the PA CDL manual. All right. Railroad highway grade crossings are a special kind of intersection where the roadway crosses train tracks. These crossings are always dangerous. Every such crossing must be approached with the expectation that a train is coming. It is extremely difficult to judge the distance of a train from the crossing as well as the speed of an approaching train. Now, types of crossings. Passive crossings. This type of crossing does not have any type of traffic control device. The decision to stop or proceed rests entirely in your hands. Passive crossings require you to recognize the crossing, search for any train using the tracks, and decide if there is sufficient clear space to cross safely. Passive crossings have yellow circular advanced warning signs, pavement markings, and crossbucks to assist you in recognizing a crossing. Active crossings, and this type of crossing has a traffic control device installed at the crossing to regulate traffic at the crossing. These active devices include flashing red lights with or without bells and flashing red lights with bells and gates. Warning signs and devices. 2.15.2. Advanced warning signs. So the round black on yellow warning sign is placed ahead of a public railroad highway crossing. The advanced warning sign tells you to slow down, look and listen for the train, and be prepared to stop at the tracks if the train is coming. All passenger and hazmat carrying vehicles are required to stop. All passenger and hazmat carrying vehicles are required to stop. Okay, everybody got that? So whenever you come up to a track, stop. Okay, all the way. Don't California stop, because you're going to get nipped. Okay. All right. Now, pavement markings. Pavement markings mean the same as an advanced warning sign. They consist of an X with the letters RR and no passing, and a no passing marking on 2-lane roads. There is also a no passing zone sign on 2-lane roads. There may be a white stop line painted on the pavement before the railroad tracks. The front of the vehicle must remain behind this line while stopped at the crossing. Crossbuck signs. This sign marks the grade crossing. It requires you to yield the right-of-way to the train if there is no white stop line painted on the pavement. Vehicles that are required to stop must stop no closer than 15 feet or more than 50 feet or more than 50 feet from the nearest rail of the nearest track. When the road crosses over more than one track, a sign below the crossbuck indicates the number of tracks. Flashing red light signals. At many highway rail grade crossings, the crossbuck sign has flashing red lights and bells. When the lights begin to flash, stop. All right, let's take a 10-minute break, okay? Come on back at 2:30. All right, back at it. Yes. All right. So crossbuck signs. The signs, this sign marks the grade crossing. It requires you to yield the right of way to the train. If there is no train, if there is no white stop line painted on the pavement, vehicles that are required to stop must stop no closer than 15 feet or more than 50 feet from the nearest rail. Okay, so anytime you see numbers here, take careful note of this. Okay, because those things are going to pop up on your exam. That's about a 99% possibility. Okay. When the road crosses over more than one track, a single line below the crossbucks indicates the number. A single sign below the crossbucks indicates the number of tracks. All right. And And let's see, 217, where is that at? Right here. So this is where it indicate the number of tracks. Okay. All right. So flashing red lights, flashing red light signals. At many highway grade crossings, the crosswalk sign has flashing red lights and bells. When the lights begin to flash, stop. A train is approaching. You are required to yield the right of way to the train. If there is more than one track, make sure all tracks are clear before crossing. Gates. Many railroad highway crossings have gates with flashing red lights and bells. Stop when the lights begin to flash and before the gate lowers across the road lane. Remain stopped until the gate goes up and the lights have stopped flashing. Proceed when it is safe. Driving procedures. So never race a train to a crossing. Okay, never attempt to race a train to a crossing. It is extremely difficult to judge the speed of an approaching train. Reduce speed. Speed must be reduced in accordance with your ability to see approaching trains in any direction. And speed must be held to a point which will permit you to stop short of the tracks in case a stop is necessary. Do not expect to hear a train. Trains may not or are prohibited from sounding horns when approaching some crossings. Public crossings where trains do not sound horns should be identified by signs. Noise inside your vehicle may also prevent you from hearing the train horn until the train is dangerously close to the crossing. Do not rely on signals. You should not rely solely upon the presence of warning signals, gates, or flagmen to warn you of approaching trains. Be especially alert at crossings that do not have gates or flashing red signals. Double tracks require a double check. Remember that a train on one track may hide a train on the other track. Look both ways before crossing. After a train has cleared a crossing, be sure no other trains are near before starting across the tracks. Yard areas and grade crossings in cities and towns. Yard areas and grade crossings in cities and towns are just as dangerous as rural grade crossings. Approach them with as much caution. Okay, these are your pavement markings. Okay, that we've talked about. Hey, don't assume that because your railroad crossing has gates, flashing lights, bells. Don't assume this stuff is going to work. If the power goes out, this stuff may not be functional. Okay. All right. Stopping safely at railroad highway crossings. A full stop is required at grade crossings whenever. The nature of the cargo makes the stop mandatory under state or federal regulation. Such a stop is otherwise required by law. When stopping, be sure to check for traffic behind you while stopping gradually. Use a pull-out lane if available. If available, turn on your four-way emergency flashers. Crossing the tracks. Railroad crossings with steep approaches can cause your unit to hang up on the tracks. Never permit traffic conditions to trap you in a position where you have to stop on the tracks. Be sure you can get all the way across the tracks before you start across the tracks. It takes a typical tractor trailer unit at least 14 seconds to clear a single track and more than 15 seconds to clear a double track. Do not shift gears while crossing railroad tracks. Special situations. All right, we're on 2.1, 2.15.6. Be aware, these trailers can get stuck on raised crossings, low slung units, low boys, car carriers, moving vans, possum belly livestock trailers, single axle tractors pulling a long trailer with its landing gear set to accommodate a tandem axle tractor. For any reason, if you get stuck for any reason on the tracks, get out of the vehicle right away, get out of the vehicle and away from the tracks. Check signposts or signals. Check signposts or signal housing at the crossing for emergency notification information. Call 911 or other emergency number. Give the location, the crossing, give the location of the crossing using all identifiable landmarks, especially the DOT number if posted. All right, mountain driving.
There's nothing tougher on your brakes than a long downhill run. This kind of heat can ruin brakes. If you don't stop soon enough, it can ruin your ride. The good news, let's take a look at how to get your truck safely downhill. That's a load to stop. Your foundation or service brakes at each wheel have a hard job to do, and it's getting harder. Today's vehicles are made to move fast. Sleeker, tires roll easier, lubes are lighter, gear ratios are higher, gross vehicle weights are heavier, and the engines, they have less retarding power than ever before. And all these factors have an effect on your ability to brake downhill. Even with all that's happening, your brakes will do the job if you spec them right and work them right. Of course, it's one thing to stop something rolling flat, and quite another when it's running downhill. New vehicles on long downhill runs, or again and again over rolling terrain, can take your brakes to the limit. For many of us, that'll mean adjusting our driving and braking techniques and reducing speeds on downgrades. That's what this tape is about. Now, service brakes are meant to take a lot of heat, but if they heat up too high, like when you use them in the wrong way on long downhill runs, the windings can begin to clog and lose some of their stopping power. You feel the brake fade, having to push harder on the pedal to slow the vehicle. It's even higher, and the lining material begins to break down, losing even more stopping power. The brakes just can't slow you down, and it's off to the escape ramp. You're lucky. What we want to do here is show you how to get safely down to the bottom of that hill or mountain. There are three things to learn. Downhill run, what to watch for and what not to listen to, how to use your engine and transmission to do most of the downhill braking for you, and how to work the brake pedal as you run downhill. Okay. Things you should be doing to prepare for a downhill run. For instance, if at all possible, know what you're getting into. You're heading into mountains or rolling terrain and unsure what's ahead, find out. Find out about grades, speed limits, escape ramps, line curves, construction zones. Find out about the length of downhill stretches. And before you head for the mountains or hills, work through a thorough pre-trip inspection. Come to a brake check area. Use it. In some states, it's the law. On the road, look for warning signs, as we'll see in a minute. And the best preparation for a downhill run is to enter it in the right gear at a safe speed. You see, posted speed limits may not be the right guide for your vehicle and load. To be safe, you'll likely need to run slower, sometimes much slower than posted limits. Finally, when it comes to braking, say thanks, but no thanks to neighborly advice. There are a lot of old trucker tales out there on how to brake on hills. You should rely on the guidelines in this program. It's good advice put together by leading brake experts and truck driving experts. And it could save your brakes, your truck, your load, and your life someday. Learn how to properly brake your vehicle downhill and stick with it. What works for someone else in some other vehicle with some other load may or may not work for you. What all this means is being prepared is the first key to a safe downhill run. Remember, the second is getting your engine and transmission to do most of the braking for you. That means you have to start by entering the run with your vehicle at what's called is a safe vehicle speed with the engine just under the governor and your foot off the brake. In other words, you want to find the safest operating speed for your vehicle load and road. And on a downgrade, that speed is just under governed speed for engine manufacturer's recommended maximum RPM. And this natural retarding effect means you're less the gear you choose to maintain control speed will depend upon the braking power of your engine and whether you use a brake or a driveline retarder on your vehicle. Let's take a closer look. Again, control speed is running just under governed speed in the gear that allows you to balance the pull of your load downhill with the natural retarding effect of your engine. The larger the engine, the greater the braking effect. The smaller the engine, the less it can help you slow your truck on a downhill run. Compression brakes and driveline retarders act to increase this braking power and are highly recommended on mountainous driving. Set you up to limit the use of your service brakes to just what's necessary to keep your vehicle from accelerating. This is important. Get your vehicle under control with the right gear for your load, engine size, and any driveline retarders on board. Then, as your vehicle tends to gain speed, maintain control by using your brakes. Running at control speed or in balance allows you to use your service brakes sparingly, maintaining their braking power for the entire run. New drivers or veteran drivers in new vehicles often ask the same question. How do I know the right gear for a downhill run? Many pros recommend that you enter the run by selecting a gear 1 or 2 gears lower than the gear you would use to pull the same load up the same grade. Now, this may put your vehicle under posted speed limits. That's okay. Choosing too high a gear, even posted speeds, have the retarding power you need to run at control speed. That means as you accelerate downhill, you're moving toward a constant overuse of your service brakes and ultimately loss of braking power. The pros also emphasize that you should shift into the right gear before you begin the run. Downshifting on a downgrade will throw the transmission into neutral, which will cause you to accelerate. When you're downshifting, you need to be decelerating. So if you're accelerating, it'll be difficult, if not impossible, to get into a lower gear or even back into the same gear. And that puts you in danger of losing control of your vehicle. Okay, let's burn all this onto the screen. As you enter an extended downhill run, get your vehicle at control speed. That is, select a gear that balances the pull of your load downhill when running your engine just under governor. Use any onboard engine brakes and retarder. If you don't have one, face it, you may find yourself going down severe grades at 10 to 15 miles an hour. For many of you, that's uncomfortably slow, but it beats a ride down the escape ramp. Next, choose 1 or 2 gears lower than what you would use for the same load up the same slope. Once under control, stay under control by using your service brake. Okay, So far, we've learned that to run safely downhill, you need first to be prepared, and second, to get your engine by entering the downgrade at a safe control speed and using your service brakes or retarder to maintain control. Technique. So let's look at that. Many drivers have learned to run downhill with a slight constant pressure on the brake pedal, just enough to keep the vehicle at the safe operating or control speed. By the Federal Highway Administration indicates slight steady pressure called dragging tends to make some those that work the hardest tend to overheat. The problem is in how brake systems work. Even when pedal pressure is slight, as it is, not all brakes work with the same force. On a long downhill run, that can mean that some brakes, those working the hardest, up to over 1,000 degrees, temperatures at which linings, drums, and brake pads can be permanently damaged. These what's known as snubbing. With snubbing, the driver applies the brakes with enough force to reduce miles per hour under control speed in about 3 seconds. Should the snub. Let's look at that again. The driver applies enough pressure to reduce seconds. Think of it full speed through the run. Snubbing should also be used when running through rolling terrain. Why does snubbing work better than dragging? The key is that snubbing sends enough air pressure to each brake to make them work. While they might heat up, they don't tend to get as hot as they would when dragging brakes. The result is less chance of overheating, a safer ride, longer brake lining life, less downtime, lower maintenance costs. Now, snubbing your brakes downhill may be new to you, but it's the best way to maintain downhill control. So let's burn that in. On long downhill runs and rolling terrain, snub rather than drag your low control speed in about 3 seconds. Repeat this. For service brakes, whether or not your truck is equipped with an engine brake or other retarder. Now some final thoughts. First, even with the best techniques, there's always room for common sense. Whenever you're pulling a load on a top or hilly run, be especially alert. If you see any smoke, watch for gawkers watching you. Keep the CV open for another driver's warning. Sometimes you're paid or receive some kind of warning, pull off and check it out. In these situations, we recommend cooling your brakes at least 30 to 40 minutes. Second, some vehicles are equipped with a hand valve that activates the trailer-only brake. Don't use trailer-only brake systems to control vehicle braking. That's the fastest way to smoke these brakes. Okay, let's look quickly at what we've learned. When driving hills and mountains, learn what's ahead. Check your start a long downgrade, whether or not the law requires you to do it. Watch for warning signs. Maximum, often not what's the safest speed for your vehicle and load. Leave the CV on for warnings, but when it comes to braking, thank them for their advice, but keep to what you know. A safe ride begins by getting your truck under control before you head downhill. Bring your truck to a safe downhill speed by keeping the engine just under governed speed and selecting the appropriate gear given your engine and load and any engine brake or other retarder you use. To maintain control downhill, snub your brakes. That is, apply enough pedal pressure to reduce vehicle speed 5 miles per hour under control speed in seconds. It's the 5-3 rule. The snub as necessary to maintain control. Fast technique. The brake may sometimes need a rest. And remember, it could take up to 30 to 40 minutes to cool brakes properly. Downhill braking, not a problem if you prepare, control, snub. 3 words you can run with.
Okay. Prepare, control, snub. That's what he said. The snub braking is the best way to do it, you know. You like I had said before, earlier in this session, you know your safe speed for the mountain. You use the braking effect of the engine first and foremost, and then you if your speed is 40 miles an hour, your safe speed is 40 miles an hour. And you apply enough brake pressure to feel a definite slow down and bring it down to 5 miles below that safe speed. Then let it come back up to safe speed, then apply your brakes again. You'll do that all the way down a mountain and you'll never burn your brakes up. Okay. Now, in mountain driving, gravity plays a major role. On any upgrade, gravity slows you down. The steeper the grade and the longer the grade, or the heavier the load, the more you will have to use lower gears to climb hills or mountains. In coming down long, steep downgrades, gravity causes the speed of your vehicle to increase. You must select an appropriate safe speed, then use a low gear and proper braking techniques. You should plan ahead and obtain information about any long, steep downgrades along your planned route of travel, if possible. Talk to other drivers who are familiar with the grades and to find out what speeds are safe. And you know that's sound advice. No matter where you're going, you know, talk to a driver who's done it before, and a lot of times they're willing to, you know, smooth the way for you by letting you know about, you know, the pitfalls in that particular route. All right, so you must go slowly enough so your brakes can hold you back without getting too hot. If the brakes become too hot, they may start to fade. This means that you may have to apply them harder and harder to get the same stopping power. If you continue to use the brakes hard, they can keep fading until you cannot slow down or stop at all. All right. Now select the safe speed. We're on 2.16.1. Your most important consideration is to select a speed that is not too fast for the total weight of the vehicle and cargo, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, and weather. If a speed limit is posted or there is a sign indicating maximum safe speed, never exceed the speed shown. Also, look for and heed the warning signs indicating the length and steepness of the grade. If you must use the braking effect of the engine as a principal way of controlling your speed. The braking effect of the engine is greatest when it is near governed RPMs, and the transmission is in the lower gears. Save your brakes so you will be able to slow or stop as required by road and traffic conditions. Select the right gear before starting down a grade. Shift the transmission to a low gear before starting down the grade. Do not try to downshift after your speed is already built up. You will not be able to shift into a lower gear, so you may not even be able to get back into any gear at all. And all engine braking effect will be lost. Forcing an automatic transmission into a low gear at a high speed could damage the transmission and also lead to loss of all engine braking effect. With older trucks, a rule for choosing gears is to use the same gear going down a hill that you would need to climb the hill. So you would use, with older trucks, a rule for choosing a gear, you use the same gear going down a hill that you would need to climb the hill. Okay. However, new trucks have low friction parts and streamlined shapes for fuel economy. They may also have more powerful engines. This means they can go up hills in higher gears and have less friction and air drag to hold them back going down hills. For that reason, drivers of modern trucks may have to use lower gears going down a hill than would be required to go up the hill. You should know what is right for your vehicle. Brake fading or failure. All right. Brakes are designed so brake shoes or pads rub against the brake drums or discs to slow the discs. Braking creates heat, but brakes are designed to take a lot of heat. However, brakes can fade or fail from excessive heat caused by using them too much and not relying on the engine braking effect. The brake fade is also affected by adjustment. To safely control a vehicle, every brake must do its share of the work. Brakes out of adjustment will stop doing their share before those that are in adjustment. The other brakes can then overheat and fade, and there will not be enough braking available to control the engine. Brakes can get out of adjustment quickly, especially when they are used a lot. Also, brake linings wear faster when they are hot. Therefore, brake adjustment must be checked frequently. Proper braking technique. Snub braking. The only way to descend a grade. Okay, and we went over this a couple of times. Okay, snub braking. You're using your brake. You're coming down to 5 miles per hour below the safe speed limit, and you're letting it go. Then you're coming back down, letting it go. Do that all the way down the mountain, you'll be fine. Okay. Escape ramps are made to stop runaway vehicles safely without injury to drivers and passengers. Escape ramps use a long bed of loose, soft material or to slow runaway vehicles, sometimes in combination with an upgrade. No escape ramp locations on your route. Signs show drivers where ramps are located. Escape ramps save lives, equipment, and cargo. Use them if you lose your brakes. Okay, there's a guy in prison right now because he wouldn't hit a ramp. Okay, his truck went out of control. He experienced total brake failure. I assume he jumped from the vehicle, but I don't know. His vehicle hit some other vehicles. He killed a bunch of people. It's a real shame, But if he would have just hit that ramp, and he had a couple of opportunities to hit that ramp, but I don't know what he was thinking. But if your brakes go out and you have to hit the ramp, the company can afford it. Okay. They'll get over it. Trust me. Just hit that ramp. All right. Now, if cost is a factor, and it shouldn't be, but if cost was a factor in deciding whether or not you're going to hit a ramp, think about it this way. If you hit the ramp, it'll cost your company probably $4,000 or something. Probably around that's probably safe, right? But if you don't hit a ramp and you kill somebody, that's at least $1 million. That's at least $1 million right there. So I think they'd be happier with 5,000, than $1 million. But that's just my thinking. Okay. And that $1 million figure was actually thrown out there at an orientation I went to one time for a certain company that's no longer in business. They said that the trainer that was given that orientation said that he's seen in his experience that you got two kinds of drivers out there. You got drivers who drive for 30 years and never have a fender bender or trade paint at all, right? But then one day they kill somebody. And then you got drivers who seem to be bumping into everything, but they never have a major catastrophe. And of course, I don't think you could count that as a hard and fast rule, obviously. But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting thing to say. And that company at that time had just happened to they had a driver who had his girlfriend in the truck with him, and he took his truck across Skyline Drive, I believe it's called in Virginia, or either Virginia or West Virginia. I don't know, but the point was the trucks were not allowed on that road. Big trucks were not allowed on that road, and they went off a mountain, killed that girl, killed him and that girl. So it was awful, you know. All right. So stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. When you do not have enough room to stop, you may have to steer away from what is ahead of you. All right. Remember, you can almost always turn to miss an obstacle more quickly than you can stop. And that'll probably be on your test, by the way. However, top-heavy vehicles and tractors with multiple trailers may flip over. Keep both hands on the steering wheel in order to turn quickly. You must have a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands. The best way is to have both hands on the wheel. If there is an emergency, keep them there all the time. Now, your steering wheel, you want your hands on opposite sides of the wheel. Personally, I think 3 and 9 is probably the best driving position. Okay. Some like, 10 and 2. I don't know. All right. But you want your hands on opposite sides of the wheel. All right. And you want to keep both hands on the wheel, as much as it is within your power to do so at the time, at all times. Okay. How to turn quickly and safely? A quick turn can be made safely. Quick turn can be made safely if it is done the right way. Here are some points that safe drivers use. Do not apply the brake while you are turning. It is very easy to lock your wheels while turning. If that happens, you may skid out of control. Do not turn any more than needed to clear whatever is in your way. The more sharply you turn, the greater the chances of a skid or a rollover. And it's a rollover. They found out that when commercial motor vehicles roll over, half the time it kills the driver. Okay. So if you flip your vehicle, flip a coin. Okay. Because that may be lights out for you. So we got to make sure we go around these turns at curves, on ramps, off ramps, go around them slowly. Okay. Because these things are not standardized for trucks and buses. They're standardized for your Fiat, for your Volkswagen Jetta, they're not standardized for big commercial vehicles. If the ramp speed says 25, we want to be going 20 or 15, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. Now, where to steer? If an oncoming driver has moved, let's see, if an oncoming driver has drifted into your lane, a move to your right is best. If that driver realizes what has happened, the natural response will be to return to his or her own lane. If something is blocking your path, the best direction to steer will depend upon the situation. If you have been using your mirrors, you'll know which lane is empty and can be safely used. If the shoulder is clear, going right may be best. No one is likely to be driving on the shoulder, but someone may be passing you on the left. You will know if you've been using your mirrors. If you are blocked on both sides, move to the right. A move to the right may be best. At least You will not force anyone into an opposing traffic lane and a possible head-on collision. So the importance of watching our mirrors regularly and often, right, is absolutely it's absolutely critical. Okay. And if we have an emergency situation, you know, I was going to a employee meeting one morning over in Aberdeen. I was working for a company that delivered building materials, right? And I was driving on Perry Lawn Drive, is what it was called. And this young guy in a Jeep Cherokee is a 2-lane undivided highway, right? So there's no barrier in between the lanes. So this young fella drifted right into my lane, man, and I just thank God, that I saw it. I saw him coming. I jerked that wheel to the right, got on the shoulder. The guy behind me got hit head on, head on. Yeah, this is awful. This messed that poor guy up for life. And the young man who come to find out that he was apparently on his phone, and his phone cost him his life. Okay. The guy that was right behind me, poor fella, it messed him up for life. He's probably not going to be able to work again. And yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. So uh be responsible, please. Okay, use your mirrors, pay attention to what's going on around you. Okay. Last thing, I'm sure that the last thing anyone with a conscience wants is someone's mom or their grandmom being woke up by the state police. You know what I mean? And them coming to your house and saying, "We're sorry, we're here to give you the news that your baby was killed in a head-on collision or something like that." So I'm telling you, this is serious. This is serious business. Is life and death out here, so we got to be careful. Okay. All right. So if the shoulder's clear, best bet's probably to shoot to the right, but you're not going to know that unless you're checking your mirrors. Okay. All right. Leaving the road. In some emergencies, you may have to drive off the road. It may be less risky than facing a collision with another vehicle. Okay, most shoulders are strong enough to support the weight of a large vehicle and therefore offer an available escape route. Where here are some guidelines. If you do leave the road, avoid braking. If possible, avoid using brakes until your speed has dropped to about 20 miles per hour. Then brake very gently to avoid skidding on a loose surface. Keep one set of wheels on the pavement if possible. This helps to maintain control. Stay on the shoulder. If the shoulder is clear, stay on it until your vehicle has come to a stop. When it is safe, signal and check your mirrors before pulling back onto the road. Returning to the road. If you are forced to return to the road before you can stop, use the following procedure. Hold the wheel tightly and turn sharply enough to get right back on the road safely. Do not try to edge gradually back on the road. If you do, your tires might grab unexpectedly and you could lose control. When both front tires are on the paved surface, counter steer immediately. The two turns should be made as a single counter steer maneuver. All right. How to stop quickly and safely. So at this point, we're on 2.17.2 in section 2 of PA CDL Manual. All right. If somebody suddenly pulls out in front of you, your natural response is to hit the brakes. This is a good response if there is enough distance to stop, and you use the brakes correctly. You should brake in a way that will keep your vehicle in a straight line and allow you to turn if it becomes necessary. You can use the control braking method or the stab braking method. Control braking, with this method, you apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking up the wheels. Keep steering wheel movements very small while doing this. If you need to make larger steering adjustments, or if the wheels lock, release the brakes, reapply the brakes as soon as you can. Stab braking. Apply your brakes all the way, release the brakes when the wheels lock up. As soon as the wheels start rolling, apply the brakes fully again. It can take up to 1 second for the wheels to start rolling after you release the brakes. If you reapply the brakes before the wheels start rolling, the vehicle will not straighten out. The wheels will just continue to slide, right? Do not jam on the brakes. Emergency braking does not mean pushing down on the brake pedal as hard as you can. That will only keep the wheels locked up and cause a skid. If the wheels are skidding, you cannot control the vehicle. If you drive a vehicle with anti-lock brakes, you should read and follow the directions found in the owner's manual for stopping quickly. Brake failure. Brakes kept in good condition rarely fail. Most hydraulic brake failures occur for one of two reasons. Air brake failures, air brakes are discussed in section 5. Loss of hydraulic pressure, brake fade on long hills, loss of hydraulic pressure. When the system will not build pressure, the brake pedal will feel spongy or go to the floor. Here are some things you can do. You can try to downshift. Putting the vehicle in a lower gear will help slow the vehicle down. Pump the brakes. Sometimes pumping the brake pedal will generate enough hydraulic pressure to stop the vehicle. Use the parking brake. The parking brake or emergency brake is separate from the hydraulic brake system. Therefore, it can be used to slow the vehicle. However, be sure to press and release the brake button or pull the release lever at the same time you use the emergency brake so you can adjust the brake pressure and keep the wheels from locking up. Find an escape route. While slowing the vehicle, look for an escape route, an open field, side street, or escape ramp. Turning uphill is a good way to slow and stop the vehicle. Make sure the vehicle does not start rolling backward after you stop. Put it in low gear, apply the parking brake, and if necessary, roll back into some obstacle that will stop the vehicle. Brake failure on downgrades. Going slow enough and braking properly will almost always prevent brake failure on long downgrades. Once the brakes have failed, however, you are going to have to look outside your vehicle for something to stop it. Your best hope is an escape ramp. If there is one, there will be signs telling you about it. Use it. Ramps are usually located a few miles from the top of downgrades. Every year, hundreds of drivers avoid injury to themselves or damage to their vehicles by using escape ramps. Some escape ramps use soft gravel that resists the motion of the vehicle and bring it to a stop. Others turn uphill using the hill to stop the vehicle and soft gravel to hold it in place. Before driving in the mountains, you should know the escape ramps located on your route. Any driver who loses brakes going downhill should use an escape ramp if it is if it is available. If you do not use it, your chances of having a serious crash may be much greater. If no escape ramp is available, take the least hazardous escape route you can, such as an open field or side road that flattens out or turns uphill. Make the move as soon as you know your brakes do not work. The longer you wait, the faster the vehicle will go and the harder it will be to stop. And that is a fact.
If you want to ace your paper, download Grammarly. Are you?
You handle each vehicle according to the same rules. Look in slow motion at exactly what happens when a tire loses. Drop, creating a side force. This side force depends on situation. Compensate for this new side force. But off the accelerator is the second worst. The real solution is stepping on. Means maintaining control. Stop and pulling the rig to the side. Say, I don't want to go fast. That an object going in one direction, such as a rig on a highway, will keep moving in that direction unless it is acted on by a new force in a and direction of these forces. A rapid air loss. The rig will move in a new direction by stepping on the. He completes the compensation by making a. Some high ground roads. The added power applied. The problem and get the rig stable. Will be much less able to control the rig. wheel and the deflated tire is when the driver begins to feel the effects of the new side. Take action by stepping up. And drive tire air loss situation. The important thing to remember is that you handle both situations in the same way. The key differences lie in how they feel to the driver and what effect they have on the behavior of the vehicle. Way by stepping on the accelerator. Driver stability in the seat. Placement of hands and arms is all important. While you're seeing your for our camera, today's truck tires are better than ever, and the chances are that you probably won't ever have to deal with a rapid air loss situation. Just remember these simple rules. Be sure to include the tires before position. Use of seat belts and good driving habits give you a head start in dealing with. We said at the beginning of this program, tire blowouts have been the subject of myth and rumor for too long. You, the driver, are the critical factor. In your accelerator and your steering, you have the tools to handle a blowout. 14 years of testing here in Nevada tell us so. The drivers you just have learned to follow these simple rules. You can handle an air loss situation just like they did.
All right, so let's see. There's a video right here. Check this out. All right, check this craziness out. Now, this driver, instead of stepping on the accelerator when he had a steer tire blowout, steps on the brake. Okay, watch what it does to his vehicle. There it is. He steps on the brake, locks up his steering, vehicle totally out of control. If he would have stepped on the accelerator, he would have been able to get that vehicle off the road safely. As a result, now I don't know if anybody hit him or not. That's a bad deal. That's dangerous. He's blocking 2 lanes. Okay. One more from him. That's crazy. All right.
Handle each vehicle according to the.
Okay. So Recognize tire failure. Quickly knowing when you have tire failure will let you have more time to react. Having just a few seconds to remember what it is you're supposed to do can help you. The major signs of tire failure are, so a tire blowout sounds like a gunshot. I mean, it's loud, like a cannon blast or something. It's loud. But if you've got your windows up and it happens on the trailer, there's a chance you might not hear it. Okay. So it's a loud bang of the loud bang of a blowout is an easily recognizable sound because it can take a few seconds for your vehicle to react. You might think it was some other vehicle, but anytime you hear a tire blowout, you would be safest to assume it's yours. Vibration. If the vehicle thumps or vibrates heavily, it may be a sign that one of the tires has gone flat. With a rear tire, let's see, with a rear tire, that may be the only sign you get. Feel free. Feel if the steering feels heavy, it's probably a sign that one of your tires has failed. Sometimes failure of a rear tire will cause the vehicle to slide back and forth or fishtail. Okay. However, dual tires usually prevent this. All right. Okay. All right. Respond to tire failure. When a tire fails, your vehicle is in danger. You must immediately hold the steering wheel firmly. If a front tire fails, it can twist the steering wheel out of your hand. The only way to prevent this is to keep a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands at all times. Stay off the brake. It is natural to want to brake in an emergency. However, braking when a tire has failed could cause loss of control. Unless you are about to run into something, stay off the brake until the vehicle has slowed down. Then brake very gently and pull off the road and stop. Check the tires. After you have come to a stop, get out and check all the tires. Do this even if the vehicle seems to be handling all right. If one of your dual tires goes, the only way you may know it is by getting out and looking at it. Anti-lock. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break, okay? And we'll come back at 3:40. All right. Okay. All right. So we're on talking about blowouts, tire failures. Okay. So respond to tire failures. When tires fail, when a tire fails, your vehicle's in danger. You must immediately hold the steering wheel firmly. If a front tire fails, it can twist the wheel out of your hand. The only way to prevent this is by keeping a firm grip on the steering wheel with both hands at all times. Stay off the brake. It is natural to want to brake in an emergency. However, braking when a tire has failed could cause loss of control. And we saw that on that video with the truck on the bridge. That guy had no control over that vehicle. He had total steering failure because he hit the brake rather than hitting the accelerator. Okay? Stay off the brake, okay, when you have a tire failure. All right. Excuse me. Accelerate enough to get the vehicle to a safe place, then pull over gradually, gently, brake smoothly. Okay. That'll keep you from losing control of that vehicle. Check the tires after you come to a stop. Get out and check all the tires. Do this even when the vehicle seems to be handling all right. If one of your dual tires goes, the only way you may know is by getting out and looking at it. Anti-lock braking system. ABS is a computerized system that keeps your wheels from locking up during hard braking applications. ABS system is an addition to your normal brakes. It does not decrease or increase your normal braking capability. ABS only activates when the wheels are about to lock up. ABS does not necessarily shorten your stopping distance, but it does help you to keep control, does help you to keep your vehicle under control during hard braking. So how anti-lock braking systems work. Sensors detect potential wheel lockup. An electrical control unit will then decrease the pressure to avoid wheel lockup. Brake pressure is adjusted to provide the maximum braking without danger of lockup. ABS works far faster than the driver can respond to a potential wheel lockup. At all other times, the brake system will operate normally. Even if your air brake system fails, you'll still have normal brakes, okay, provided that they're in good condition and adjusted correctly. All right. Vehicles required to have anti-lock braking systems. The Department of Transportation requires that ABS be on all truck tractors with air brakes built on or after March 1st, 1997. Other air brake vehicles, trucks, buses, trailers, and converter dollies built on or after March 1st, 1998. Hydraulically braked trucks and buses with a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,000 pounds or more built on or after March 1, 1998. Many commercial vehicles built before these dates have been voluntarily equipped with ABS. How to know if your vehicle is equipped with ABS. Tractors, trucks, and buses have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the instrument panel. Trailers will have yellow ABS malfunction lamps on the left side, either the front or rear corner. Dollies manufactured on or after March 1st, 1998 are required to have a lamp on the left side. As a system check on newer vehicles malfunction lamp, the malfunction lamp comes on at startup for a bulb check and then goes out quickly. On older systems, the lamp could stay on until you are driving over 5 miles per hour. If the lamp stays on after the bulb check or goes on once you're underway. So if it activates once you're underway, the light comes on, you may have lost ABS control. Most of the time, this is that sensor that's gone bad. All right. And it'll have to be fixed. You'll have to get it fixed if that light stays on. In the case of towed units manufactured before it was required by the Department of Transportation, it may be difficult to tell if the unit is equipped with ABS. Under the vehicle look under the vehicle for the ECU and wheel speed sensor wires coming from the back of the brakes. Okay, if you see wires running on your brakes, that means you got ABS. All right. How ABS helps you? When you brake hard on slippery surfaces in a vehicle without ABS, your wheels may lock up. When your steering wheels lock up, you lose steering control. When your other wheels lock up, you may skid jackknife, or even spin the vehicle. ABS helps you to avoid wheel lockup and maintain control. You may or may not be able to stop faster with ABS, but you should be able to steer around an obstacle while braking and avoid skids caused by overbraking. ABS on the tractor only or only on the trailer. Having ABS on only the tractor, only the trailer, or even on only one axle still gives you more control over the vehicle during braking. Brake normally. When only the tractor has ABS, you should be able to maintain steering control, and there is less chance of jackknifing, but keep your eye on the trailer and let up on the brakes if you can do so, if you can safely do so. If it begins to swing out, let up on the brakes, okay, but keep your eye on the trailer and let up on the brakes if you can safely do so. If it begins to swing out, say if the trailer begins to swing around. When only the tractor has ABS, you should be able to maintain steering control, and there is less chance of jackknifing. But keep your eye on the trailer and let up on the brakes if I just read that. Sorry. So when only the trailer has ABS, the trailer is less likely to swing out, but if you lose control or start a tractor jackknife, let up on the brakes if you can do so until you regain control. Okay, so braking with ABS. When you drive a vehicle with ABS, you should brake as you always have. In other words, use only the braking force necessary to stop safely and stay in control. Brake the same way regardless of whether you have ABS on the truck, tractor, the trailer, or both. As you slow down, monitor your tractor and trailer and back off the brakes if it is safe to do so, stay in control. There is only one exception to this procedure. If you drive a straight truck or combination with working ABS on all axles in an emergency stop, you can fully apply the brakes. If your ABS is working properly, stab braking should not be used. Okay, if your ABS is working properly, stab braking should not be used. Now, if you remember, stab braking is where we slam on the brake pedal and we apply the brakes hard enough to lock up the wheels. Then we let off the brake and allow the wheels to spin freely. Okay. So if your vehicle's equipped with ABS, stab braking should not be used. All right. Braking if ABS is not working. Without ABS, you still have normal brake function. Drive and brake as you always have. Vehicles with ABS have yellow malfunction lamps to tell you if something's not working. As a system check on newer vehicles, the malfunction lamp comes on at startup for a bulb check and then goes out quickly. On older systems, the lamp could stay on until you're driving over 5 miles per hour. If the lamp stays on after the bulb check or goes out once you're underway, you may have lost ABS control on one or more wheels. Remember, if your ABS malfunctions, you still have regular brakes. Drive normally, but get the system serviced soon. Safety reminders: ABS will not allow you to drive faster, follow more closely, or drive less carefully. ABS will not prevent power or turning skids. ABS should prevent brake-induced skids or jackknifes, but not those caused by spinning drive tires or going too fast in a turn. ABS will not necessarily shorten your stopping distance. ABS will help maintain control of the vehicle, but not always shorten stopping distance. ABS will not increase or decrease ultimate braking power. ABS is an add-on to your normal brakes, not a replacement for them. ABS will not change the way you normally brake. Under normal brake conditions, your vehicle will stop your vehicle will stop as it always stopped. ABS only comes into play when a wheel would normally have locked up because of overbraking. ABS will not compensate for bad brakes or poor brake maintenance. Remember, the best vehicle safety feature is still a driver. Remember, drive so you never need to use your ABS. If you need it, ABS could help you to prevent a serious crash. Skid control and recovery. A skid happens whenever the tires lose their grip on the road. This is caused in one of four ways: overbraking, braking too hard, and locking up the wheels. Skids also can occur when using the speed retarder when the road is slippery. Oversteering, turning the wheels more sharply than the vehicle can turn. Overacceleration, supplying too much power to the drive wheels, causing them to spin. Driving too fast. Most serious skids result from driving too fast for road conditions. Drivers who adjust their driving to conditions do not overaccelerate and do not have overbrake or do not have to overbrake or oversteer from too much speed. Drive wheel skids. By far, the most common skid is one in which the rear wheels lose traction through excessive braking or acceleration. Skids caused by acceleration usually happen on ice or snow. Take your foot off the accelerator. Taking your foot off the accelerator can easily stop them. If it is very slippery, push the clutch in. Otherwise, the engine can keep the wheels from rolling freely. And regaining traction. So you don't want to use your engine retarder when you're in slippery conditions, because it puts the braking effect on the drive wheels, okay? Now, and when you over accelerate and cause a skid, which basically means that you're burning your tires up, which means that you put too much throttle to the drive tires, and now too much power is there, and that means that your drive tires are spinning, so you've lost control of your drive tires. All right. Rear wheel braking skids occur when the rear drive wheels lock. Because locked wheels have less traction than rolling wheels, the rear wheels usually slide sideways in an attempt to catch up with the front wheels. In a bus or straight truck, the vehicle will slide sideways in a spin out. With vehicles towing trailers, a drive wheel skid can let the trailer push the towing vehicle sideways, causing a sudden jackknife. All right. Correcting a drive wheel braking skid. Stop braking. So do the following to correct the drive wheel braking skid. All right. Stop braking. This will let the rear wheels roll again and keep the rear wheels from sliding any further. If on ice, push in the clutch and let the wheels turn freely. Turn quickly. When the vehicle begins to slide sideways, quickly steer in the direction you want the vehicle to go down the road. You must turn the wheel quickly. Countersteer as the vehicle turns back on course. It has a tendency to keep on turning unless you turn the steering wheel quickly the other way. You may find yourself skidding in the opposite direction. Learning to stay off the brake. Turn the steering wheel quickly, push in the clutch, and countersteer. In a skid, it takes a lot of practice. The best place to get this practice is on a large driving range or skid pad. All right, front wheel skids. Driving too fast for conditions causes most front wheel skids. Other causes include a lack of tread on the front tires and cargo loaded so there's not enough weight on the front axle. In a front axle skid, the front end tends to go in a straight line regardless of how much you turn the steering wheel. On a very slippery surface, you may not be able to turn the steering wheel around a curve or turn. You may not be able to steer around a curve or turn. When a front wheel skid occurs, the only way to stop the skid is to let the vehicle slow down. Stop turning and or braking so hard. Slow down as quickly as possible without skidding. Okay. All right. Okay, which page are we on? We're on 2-45. We're on 2.20 right now. Accident procedures. When you are in an accident and not seriously hurt, you need to act to prevent further damage or injury. The basic steps to be taken in any accident are to protect the area, notify authorities, care for the injured. All right. So protect the area. First thing you do at an accident scene is to keep another accident from happening at the same spot. To protect the accident area. If your vehicle is involved in an accident, try to get it to the side of the road. This will help prevent another accident and allow traffic to move. If you are stopping to help park, park away from the accident, the area immediately around the accident will be needed for emergency vehicles. Put on your flashers. Set out reflective triangles to warn other traffic. Make sure other drivers can see them in time to avoid the accident. Notify authorities. If you have a cell phone or a CB, call for assistance before you get out of your vehicle. If not, wait until after the accident scene has been properly protected. Then phone or send someone to phone the police. Try to determine where you are so you can give the exact location. Care for the injured. If a qualified person is at the accident scene helping the injured, stay out of the way unless asked to assist. Otherwise, do the best you can to help any injured parties. Here are some simple steps to follow in giving assistance. Do not move a severely injured person unless the danger of fire or passing traffic makes it necessary. Stop heavy bleeding by applying pressure, direct pressure to the wound. Keep the injured person warm. Fires. Truck fires can cause damage and injury. Learn the causes of fires and how to prevent them. Know what to do. To extinguish fires. Causes of fires. Following are some causes of vehicle fire. After accidents, spilled fuel, improper use of flares, tires, underinflated tires and duals that touch, electrical system, short circuits, duals due to damaged insulation, loose connections, fuel, driver smoking, improper fueling, loose fuel connections, cargo, flammable cargo, improperly sealed or loaded cargo, poor ventilation. Okay. Fire prevention. Pay attention to the following. Pre-trip inspection. Make a complete inspection of the electrical, fuel, and exhaust systems. Tires and cargo. Be sure to check that the fire extinguisher is charged. En route inspection. Check the tires, wheels, and truck body for signs of heat whenever you stop during a trip. Follow safe procedures. Follow correct safety procedures for fueling the vehicle using brakes, handling flares, and other activities that can cause fire. Monitoring. Check the instruments and gauges often for signs of overheating, and use the mirrors to look for signs of smoke from the tires or the vehicle. Caution. Use normal caution in handling anything flammable. Firefighting. Knowing how to fight a fire is important. Drivers who did not know what to do have made fires worse. Know how to fight a fire, know how to fight the fire, how the fire extinguisher works. Study the instructions printed on the fire extinguisher before you need it. Here are some procedures to follow in case of a fire. Pull off the road. The first step is to get the vehicle off the road and stop. In doing so, park in an open area away from buildings, trees, brush, other vehicles, or anything that might catch fire. Do not pull into a service station. Notify emergency services of your problem and your location. Keep the fire from spreading. Before trying to put out the fire, make sure that it does not spread any further. With an engine fire, turn off the engine as soon as you can. Do not open the hood if you can avoid it. Shoot foam through the louvers, radiator, or foam from the underside of the vehicle. For a cargo fire in a van or box trailer, keep the doors shut, especially if your cargo contains hazardous material. Opening the van doors will supply the fire with oxygen and can cause it to burn very fast. Here are some rules to follow in putting out a fire. When using the extinguisher, stay as far away from the fire as possible. Aim at the source or base of the fire, not up in the flames. Use the right fire extinguisher. Figures 220 and 221 detailed type of fire extinguisher used by class of fire. The BC type fire extinguisher is designed to work on electrical fires and burning liquids. The ABC type is designed to work on burning wood, paper, and cloth as well. Water can be used on wood, paper, or cloth, but do not use water on an electrical fire. This can cause shock, gasoline fire, or a gasoline fire. It will spread the flames. A burning fire should be cooled with water. Lots of water may be needed. If you are not sure what to use, especially on hazardous material fire, wait for firefighters. Position yourself upwind. Let the wind carry the extinguisher. Let the wind carry the extinguisher to the fire rather than carrying the flames to you. Continue until whatever was burning has been cooled. Absence of smoke or flame does not mean that the fire cannot restart. Okay. So we're looking for fire extinguishers. You want to have a 10 BC fire extinguisher in your vehicle. Okay. 10 BC, that's what you're looking for. All right. Okay. Alcohol, other drugs, and driving. Drinking alcohol and then driving is very dangerous and is a very dangerous and serious problem. People who drink alcohol are involved in traffic accidents, resulting in over 20,000 deaths every year. Alcohol impairs muscle coordination, reaction time, depth perception, and night vision. It also affects the parts of the brain that control judgment and inhibition. Impairment begins with the first drink. You should know how alcohol works in the human body, how it affects driving. Laws regarding drinking and driving legal, financial, and safety risks of drinking and driving. The truth about alcohol. There are many dangerous ideas about the use of alcohol. The driver who believes in these wrong ideas will be more likely to get into trouble. Here are some examples. How alcohol works. Alcohol goes directly from the stomach into the bloodstream and is carried to the brain. After passing through the brain, a small percentage is removed in urine, perspiration, and by breathing, while the rest is carried to the liver. The liver can only process 1/3 of an ounce of alcohol per hour. Okay? The liver can only process 1/3 of an ounce of alcohol per hour, which is considerably less than the alcohol in any mix considerably less than the alcohol in a standard drink. This is a fixed rate. So only time, not black coffee or a cold shower, will sober you up if you have drinks faster than your body can get rid of them. You'll have more alcohol in your body and your driving will be more affected. The blood alcohol concentration commonly measures the amount of alcohol in your body. What is a drink? It is the alcohol in the drink that affects human performance. It does not make any difference whether the alcohol comes from a couple of beers or from 2 glasses of wine or 2 shots of hard liquor. All of the following drinks contain the same amount of alcohol. A 12-ounce glass of 5% beer, a 5-ounce glass of 12% wine, and a 1 1/2 ounce shot of 80 proof liquor. Now, a guy in one of my other classes said that 8% beer is common now. So, all right. So that would obviously have more. Okay. Now, what determines blood alcohol concentration? Blood alcohol concentration is determined by amount. By the amount of alcohol you drink. More alcohol means higher BAC. How fast you drink, the faster drinking means a higher blood alcohol content. And your weight. A small person does not have to drink as much to reach the same BAC. Alcohol in the brain. Alcohol affects more and more of the brain as the blood alcohol concentration builds up. The first part of the brain affected controls judgment and self-control. One of the bad things about this is that it can keep drinkers from knowing they're getting drunk. And of course, good judgment and self-control are obviously necessary for safe driving. Okay. As blood alcohol concentration continues to build up, muscle control, vision, and coordination are affected more and more. Effects on driving may include straddling lines, quick jerky starts, not signaling, failure to use lights, running stop signs and red lights, improper passing. These effects mean increased chances of a crash and chances of losing your driver's license. Accident statistics show that the chance of a crash is much greater for drivers who have been drinking than for drivers who have not. How alcohol affects driving. All drivers are affected by drinking alcohol. This is just a fact, guys. If you drink, I saw years ago, a guy who did a DOT compliance meeting for a company I was working for. He came in and showed us a video of an insurance company having an event where they had professional drivers come in and go through an obstacle course. First, they went through the obstacle course completely alcohol free. They timed and judged their abilities, right? And then they brought them to the tent and they gave them one beer. They waited 10 minutes, sent them back out there. Now, this is all in a controlled environment, right? I could not believe the difference in performance between that one beer and not having the one beer. And then when they got into the 2 and 3 beer realm, forget it. I mean, they were running stuff over, so I'm telling you, one beer, it can mess you up big time. It's not worth it. All right. These effects mean increased chances of a crash, of losing your driver's license. Accident statistics show that the chance of a crash is much greater for drivers who have been drinking than for drivers who have not. How alcohol affects driving. All drivers are affected by alcohol. Alcohol affects judgment, vision, coordination, reaction time. It causes serious driving errors such as increased reaction time to hazards, driving too fast, too slow, driving in the wrong lane, running over the curb, weaving. Okay. This figure 2.23 here shows the effects of increasing blood alcohol concentration. Okay. So when you're at 0.02, the effects on the body are mellow feeling, slight body warmth, and less inhibited. Effects on driving condition. At 0.05, noticeable relaxation, less alert, less self-focused. Coordination impairment begins. Number 0.08, definite impairment, coordination and judgment. Drunk driving, limited impaired coordination and judgment. 10, noisy, possible embarrassing behavior, mood swings, reduction in reaction time. 0.15, impaired balance, movement, clearly drunk, unable to drive. 0.30, many lose consciousness at this point. 0.40, most lose consciousness and some die. 0.50, breathing stops, many die. Wow. That's crazy. All right, alcohol. So here's some truth about alcohol, okay? Alcohol is a drug that will make you less alert and reduce your ability to drive safely. Everyone who drinks is affected by alcohol. Food will not keep you from getting drunk. Only time will help a drinker sober up. Other methods just do not work. A few beers are the same as a few shots of whiskey or a few glasses of wine. Other drugs besides alcohol, other legal and illegal drugs are being used more often. Law prohibits possession or use of many drugs while on duty. They prohibit being under the influence of any controlled substance, amphetamines, or use of, hold on 1 second. Okay. Amphetamines, including pep pills, uppers, bennies, narcotics, or any other substance which can make the driver unsafe. This could include a variety of prescription and over-the-counter drugs, cold medicines, which may make the driver drowsy or otherwise affect safe driving ability. However, possession and use of a drug given to a driver by a doctor is permitted if the doctor informs the driver that it will not affect safe driving ability. Be sure your doctor is aware of all drugs that you are taking because of possible interactions between the drugs that may affect your driving. Pay attention to warning labels for legitimate drugs and medicines, and doctor's orders regarding possible side effects and possible effects. Stay away from illegal drugs. Do not use any drug that hides fatigue. The only cure for fatigue is rest. Alcohol can make the effects of other drugs much worse. The safest rule is do not mix drugs with driving at all. Use of drugs can lead to traffic accidents resulting in death, injury, and property damage. Furthermore, it can lead to arrests, fine, and jail sentences. It can also mean the end of a person's driving career. Hazardous material rules for all commercial carriers. Part 2.23, and we are on page 2-50. All right. Okay. All drivers should know something about hazardous materials. You must be able to recognize hazardous cargo, and you must know whether or not you can haul it without having a hazardous materials endorsement on your CDL license. Okay, so these are the various classes of hazardous materials. Okay, and class 1's explosives would be an example of this would be ammunition, dynamite, and fireworks. Class 2's gases, which would be an example of that would be propane, oxygen, and helium. Class 3 is flammable, gasoline, fuel, and acetone. Class 4, flammable solids, such as matches or fusees. Road flares would be an example of that as well. 5, oxidizers, ammonium nitrate, hydrogen peroxide. Number 6, poisons, pesticides, and arsenic are the examples given. Number 7, radioactive materials such as uranium or plutonium. Corrosives are number 8. Hydrochloric acid or battery acid are examples given. And class 9 is miscellaneous hazardous materials such as formaldehyde and asbestos. Okay. Other materials that don't have a class are considered what they call ORM-D, which stands for other regulated domestic. All right. So hairspray or charcoal would qualify as ORM-D. Now, combustible liquids, fuel oils, and lighter fluid. Okay. All right. Have no category. Okay. Says none if you look at your book. All right. 2.23.1. What are hazardous materials? Hazardous materials are products that pose a risk to health, safety, and property during transportation. See figure 2.24. 2.23.2. We're still on page 2-50. All right. Why are there rules? You must follow the many rules about transporting hazardous materials. The intent of the rules is to contain the product, communicate the risk, ensure safe drivers and equipment. To contain the product, in relation to containing the product, many hazardous products can injure or kill on contact. To protect drivers and others from contact, the rules tell shippers how to package safely. Similar rules tell drivers how to load, transport, and unload bulk tanks. These are containment rules. All right, let's take a this is going to be our last break, so we'll combine our 2 10-minute breaks. Okay, and we'll be back in 20 minutes. All right. All right, guys, 4:41. Okay. Okay. All right, let's get at it. Right. Okay. Get that out of the way. All right. So, all right. So, what are hazardous materials? Hazardous materials, and we're on page 250 right now. Hazardous materials are products that pose a risk to health, safety, and property during transportation. You must follow the many rules about transporting hazardous materials. The intent of the rules is to contain the product, communicate the risk, ensure safe drivers and equipment. To contain the product, many hazardous products can injure or kill on contact. To protect drivers and others from contact, the rules tell shippers how to package safely. Similar rules tell drivers how to load, transport, and unload bulk tanks. These are containment rules. To communicate the risk, the shipper uses shipping paper and diamond-shaped hazard labels to warn dock workers and drivers of risk. The shipping paper describes the hazardous materials being transported. Shipping orders, bills of lading, and manifests are all shipping papers. Shippers put out 4-inch diamond-shaped hazard warning labels on most hazardous materials packages. These labels inform others of the hazard. If the diamond-shaped label will not fit on the container, shippers put a label on the tag. For example, compressed gas cylinders will not hold a label. Compressed gas cylinders that will not hold a label will have tags or decals. Labels look like the examples shown in figure 2.5. So these are your labels. Everybody's seen these, I'm sure. All right. Okay. Now, after an accident or hazardous material spill or leak, you may be injured and unable to communicate the hazard of the material you're transporting. Firefighters and police can prevent or reduce the amount of damage or injury at the scene if they know what hazardous materials are being carried. Your life and the lives of others may depend upon quickly locating the hazardous materials shipping papers. For that reason, you must tab shipping papers related to hazardous materials or keep them on top of the other shipping papers. You must also keep shipping papers in a pouch on the driver's door or in clear view within reach while driving or on the driver's seat when out of the vehicle. 2.23.3 Placards. So a lists of regulated products. Placards are used to warn others of hazardous materials. Placards are signs put on the outside of a vehicle that identify the hazard class of the cargo. A placarded vehicle must have at least 4 identical placards. They are put on front, rear, and both sides. Placards must be readable from all 4 directions. They must be at least 10 3/4 inches square, turned upright on a point in a diamond shape. Cargo tanks and other bulk packaging display the identification number of their contents on placards or orange panels. Identification numbers are a four-digit code used by first responders to identify hazardous materials. An identification number may be used to identify more than one chemical on shipping papers. The identification number will be preceded by the letters NA, UN, USDOT in the USDOT Emergency Response Guidebook or Emergency Response Guide, the lists of chemicals and the identification numbers assigned to them. And that's where you find that information. And that book is right here. Ow. Yep, that's it. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Nope. Maybe. Nope. All right. It's an orange book. It doesn't want to show up. Hold on. I'll look it up. Hold on a second. All right. Emergency Response Guidebook. There it is right there. Okay. That has all that information in it. Okay. Not all vehicles carrying hazardous materials need to have placards. The rules about placards are given in Section 9 of this manual. You can drive a vehicle that carries hazardous material if it does not require placards. If it requires placards, you cannot drive it unless your driver's license has the hazardous materials endorsement on it. All right. The rules require all drivers of placarded vehicles to learn how to safely load and transport hazardous products. They must have a commercial driver's license with the hazardous materials endorsement. To get the required endorsement, you must pass a written test on materials found in Section 9 of this manual. You also will need a tank endorsement if you transport hazardous products in a cargo tank on a truck larger than 26,000 pounds, gross vehicle weight rating, or certain vehicles that transport liquid gases. The liquid gas does not have to be a hazardous material. A tank endorsement the liquid gas does not have to be a hazardous material. A tank endorsement is only required if the vehicle needs Class A or Class B and your vehicle has a permanently mounted cargo tank of any capacity, or your vehicle is carrying portable tank with a capacity of 1,000 gallons or more. All right. Drivers who need the hazardous materials endorsement must learn the placard rules. If you do not know if your vehicle needs placards, ask your employer. Never drive a vehicle needing placards unless you have the hazardous materials endorsement. To do so is a crime. When stopped, you'll be cited and you will not be allowed to drive your truck further. It will cost you time and money. A failure to placard when needed may risk your life and others if you have an accident. Emergency help will not know of your hazardous cargo. Hazardous material drivers must also know which products they can load together and which they cannot. These rules are also in Section 9. Before loading a truck with more than one type of product, you must know if it is safe to load them together. If you do not know, ask your employer and consult the regulations. You guys can ask questions. I'm recording the meeting, but I'm not recording you. I'm recording me. And it's on another computer. So it's not like you're going to be on camera or anything. Anybody got any questions? at all, feel free. Okay, I'm here to answer them if you have them. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. Does it involve the PA career link?
Is that the same thing as this one?
PA career link. Are you going through PA career link?
Same training as that one?
No, it's, you know what? That PA career link is probably something. You know what? I'm not sure what it is. Who sent it to you?
It's a guy that says his name is Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah, I put my Jesse. I think
Jesse.
Yeah, you know,
I think Seth referred to us in regards to something like that. I don't know.
yeah.
I spoke with him for funding to pay us for the training. That's where I got from it. So I guess it's training.
When? That's what I like to hear. What was it?
I'm not sure though.
I don't. I don't.
It's the bus training. This training we do on our own.
Yep. So I'm wondering if they're not sending that out to let you know that, you know, you could get a truck license too if you wanted.
Oh, okay.
That-
I'm saying Steve, he said this is the option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This not mandatory. So we're not gonna get paid for this. This is our time.
Oh man.
We get paid for the bus training.
Yeah. So yeah.
I need to contact that number now.
Well, you better.
All right. We're going to move on to section 3 now. Down here. Okay.
Excuse me, I had a question.
Sure.
I don't know if you had
Okay.
a chance to see it, but there was a question on that CDL practice
Mhm.
site you had sent this to about the place card. It was like, okay, I don't know how to answer that one, but it was a question about the place card or the shipping material in the driver's seat, in the lock glove compartment, or on the left side of the driver. What was just kind of wondering over that. So I was like, wait a minute. I saw the place card stuff today, which is good. But
Does it say, let me ask you, does it say place card or does it say placard?
that place card. Now I know where the placard go. I was shocked about the place card once. I just wanted to bring it up if it was something, you know.
So if you have any of the paperwork, right? So if you have a place card, do you have to place it in the glove department locked up, or do you have to place it in the passenger seat or in the left or door? I'm not sure what that question's asking us, honestly.
They just gotta see it. They just gotta be out.
So are we talking about the shipping papers here?
Yeah.
So
Yes and no, it's questions. It was one about the shipping papers, which was fine, because I thought it was, you know, somewhere you could see
mhm.
that would be fine. I know that there's supposed to be a placard, you know, viewable on the left side
Uh-huh.
of the driver's door. And I was just stumped when I saw the question. So hopefully I'm not confusing everybody.
Yeah.
I may be, but
You know, let me
lock something up.
If you see what the answer is on that, could you let us know?
Okay.
I'd appreciate it because I'm kind of honestly I'm not 100% sure I understand what they're asking.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'll make for stuff.
No, but hey, thank you for the question. Okay, that was great. All right. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any more questions? So I know one thing, a question came up the other day. One of my students on the truck side told me that he got a question at the DMV. He was going pretty A license, right? And he got a question at the DMV that said something about the placards, right? And it said, where do you mount the placards, or where should the placards be placed on the vehicle? And one of the options was, on front of the trailer, sides of the trailer, and on the bumper. Okay. And when he read the word bumper, it threw him off. But that's actually correct because you gotta have the you have to have the placards on all four sides, right? Of the vehicle. Now, the front placard, you could actually put it on the front of the power unit if you were in a combination vehicle. You know what I'm saying? But that question with the bumper threw that student off. All right. So you might want to watch out for that one for sure. But basically the gist is with the placards is they have to be on all four sides. Okay. You have to be able to see them from all four sides of the vehicle. Okay. All right. Let me bring this other document up. We're going into section 3 now. Transporting cargo safely. Now, like I said, so if you see the front, this manual here, it says this section is for all commercial drivers. So it tells us, that even though most of us are going to be bus drivers here in this particular class, or all of us are going to be bus drivers in this particular class, this section is required for even bus drivers who are trying to get their license. Okay. But it just has basic information about cargo securement. All right. For whatever reason, they determined that information needed to be in there. Okay. Now, section 3, transporting cargo safely. This section covers inspecting cargo, cargo weight imbalance, securing cargo, cargo needing special attention. This section tells you about hauling cargo safely. You must understand basic cargo safety rules to get a CDL. All right. If you load cargo wrong or do not secure it, it can be a danger to others and yourself. Loose cargo that falls off a vehicle can cause traffic problems and others could be hurt or killed. Loose cargo could hurt or kill you during a quick stop or crash. Your vehicle could be damaged by an overload. Steering could be affected by how the vehicle is loaded, making it more difficult to control the vehicle. Whether or not you load and secure your cargo yourself, you are responsible for inspecting your cargo, recognizing overloads and poorly balanced weights, recognizing poorly balanced weight, and that is in relation to how the load is positioned on your vehicle. All right. Knowing your cargo is properly secured and does not obscure your view ahead or to the sides. Knowing your cargo does not restrict your access to emergency equipment. If you intend to carry hazardous materials, that requires placards on your vehicle, you will also need to have hazardous materials endorsement. Section 9 of this manual has the information you need to pass the hazardous materials test. Inspecting cargo. So, inspecting cargo. As part of your pre-trip inspection, make sure the truck is not overloaded and the cargo is balanced and secured properly. After starting, inspect the cargo and its securing devices again within the first 50 miles after beginning a trip. Make adjustments as needed. Recheck the cargo and securing devices as often as necessary during a trip to keep the load secure. You need to inspect again after you have driven 3 hours or 150 miles. So 3 hours or 150 miles, and in the first inspection of the cargo and securement is within the first 50 miles after beginning the trip. Okay, these figures will be on that test. Okay, so just make sure you know them. All right, and every break you take during driving. All right, now federal, state, and local regulations for commercial vehicle weight, securing cargo, covering loads, and where you can drive large vehicles vary from place to place. Know the rules where you will be driving. Cargo weight and balance. You are responsible for not being overloaded. The following are some definitions of weight you should know. Definitions you should know. Gross vehicle weight, the total weight of a single vehicle plus its load. Gross combination weight, the total weight of a powered unit plus trailer plus the cargo. Gross vehicle weight rating, the maximum gross vehicle weight specified by the manufacturer for a single vehicle plus its load. Gross combination weight rating, the maximum gross combination weight specified by the manufacturer for specific combination vehicles plus its load. All right, axle weights. The weight transmitted to the ground by one axle or one set of axles. Tire load, the maximum safe weight a tire can carry at a specified pressure. This rating is stated on the side of each tire. Suspension systems. Suspension systems have a manufacturer's weight capacity rating. Coupling devices, coupling device capacity. Coupling devices are rated for the maximum weight they can pull or carry. Legal weight limits. You must keep weight within legal limits. States have maximums for gross vehicle weights, gross combination weights, and axle weights. Often, maximum axle weights are set by bridge formula. A bridge formula permits less maximum weight for axles that are closer together. This is to prevent overloading bridges and roadways. When approaching a bridge, you should check the weight limits before crossing. So with bridging, with the bridge formula, what you'll find out is that really becomes, I think it becomes more critical when you get into specialized carrying. I drove professionally for 20 years, and I can tell you, I never, bridge formula, never had to use it because all the equipment that I drove was standard sizes, with standard distances between the axles. I never went overloaded, never hauled anything that was heavier than 80,000 pounds total. That is the total weight of the whole vehicle, So that's my opinion. All right. Now, legal weight limits. You must keep your vehicle within legal weight limits. States have, I'd already read that. All right, let's see. Overloading can have bad effects on steering, braking, and speed control. Overloaded trucks have to go very slowly on upgrades. Worse, they may gain too much speed on downgrades. Stopping distance increases. Brakes can fail when forced to work too hard. During bad weather or in mountains, it may not be safe to operate at legal maximum weights. Take this into account before driving. Do not be top heavy. Okay. The height of a vehicle's center of gravity is very important for safe handling. A high center of gravity for the cargo piled up high or heavy cargo on top means you are more likely to tip over. It is most dangerous in curves or if you have to swerve to avoid a hazard. It is very important to distribute the cargo so it is as low as possible. Put the heaviest parts of the cargo under the lightest parts. Balance and weight. Poor weight balance can make vehicle handling unsafe. Cargo should be balanced in the cargo area. Too much weight on the steering axle can cause hard steering. It can damage the steering axle and tires. Underloaded front axles underloaded front axles can make steering axle weight too light to steer safely. Too little weight on the drive axles can cause poor drive traction. Okay, that means when you hit the accelerator, your drive wheels will spin on you. And if you don't have enough weight on so this type of situation would take the weight off your steering tires, and when you try to brake, you would just keep going. When you try to turn, you just keep going straight because your steer tires wouldn't have any traction because all this back here is taking the weight off your steer tires. All right, with this situation, you got all the weight on your drive tires. So what happens is you got all the weight on your drive tires, so it picks up your steering tires so that your steering tires don't have any weight on them. And that's another situation where you might turn the wheel and you might keep going straight. Now, in this situation, the weight is spread out over the trailer tires. And this is not a good situation because it will tend to pick up the drive tires. Okay. With the weight back here, it's going to have a tendency to take weight off the drive tires and maybe put too much weight on the steer tires, if that makes sense. Okay. This is also a wrong way to load, all off to the one side. You want it in the middle. This is correct. And this is correct. Okay. This is correct. All right. So if you see this logo in your pictures, you know which ones are correct. This one, and this one. All right. The height of the vehicle center of gravity is very important in safe handling. High center of gravity, cargo piled up high or heavy cargo on top means you're more likely to tip over. Is most dangerous in curves or if you have to swerve to avoid a hazard. It's very important to distribute the cargo so that it's as low as possible. Put the heaviest parts of the cargo under the lightest parts. All right, balance the weight. So poor balance can make the vehicle handling unsafe. All right, too little weight on the drive axles can cause poor traction. Too little weight on the steering axle can cause you to lose steering control. Okay, you'll not be able to turn that vehicle. Okay, now securing cargo, blocking and bracing. All right, blocking is used in the front, back, and or sides of a piece of cargo to keep it from sliding. Blocking is shaped to fit snugly against the cargo. It is secured to the cargo deck to prevent cargo movement. Bracing is also used to prevent cargo movement. Bracing goes from the upper part of the cargo to the floor and or wall of the cargo compartment. Now, tie down devices. So cargo should have at least one tie down for each 10 feet of cargo. Make sure you have enough tie downs to meet this need. No matter how small the cargo is, there should be at least 2 tie downs holding it down, holding it on. All right, cargo tie down on flatbed trailers or trailers without sides. Cargo must be secured to keep it from shifting or falling. In closed vans, tie downs can also be important to prevent cargo shifting. That may affect cargo shifting that may affect the handling of the vehicle. Tie downs must be in the proper type of strength. The combined strength of cargo tie downs must be strong enough to lift 1 1/2 times the weight of a piece of cargo tied down. All right, now there's a couple of key words in these two statements, and these two statements seem contradictory, but they're not. Okay, now this is it. When you see the combined strength of all cargo tie downs must be strong enough, and look for this word lift. Okay, when you see lift, it's going to be 1 1/2 times the weight of the piece tied down. Okay, when you see that word lift, it's going to be 1 1/2 times the weight of the piece of cargo tied down. Now, here's the other one. Federal regulations require the aggregate working load limit of any securement system used to secure an article or group of articles against movement must be at least 1/2 times the weight of the article or group of articles. Okay, so it's telling us two different things here, right? So the difference here is federal regulations require, all right, aggregate working load limit of any securement system used to secure an article or group of articles against movement must be at least 1 1/2 times the weight of the article or group of articles. Okay, so this is what I'm telling you. When you see the word lift, it should be 1 1/2 times the weight of a piece of cargo tied down. When you see the words aggregate working load limit, it's going to be 1/2 times the weight of the articles of the article or group of articles tied down. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that? I know it's saying two different things, but I'm pretty sure what's happening here is I'm not 100% sure on this, but based on the way it reads, it sounds to me like the lift 1 1/2 times the weight of the piece of cargo tied down. I think that might be Pennsylvania. And the second statement starts out with the statement, federal regulations require the aggregate working load limit of any securement system used to secure any article. Okay, so I'm thinking that this is the federal minimum. Okay, and that this is what's required in Pennsylvania. Could be wrong on that, but what I do know about this statement is that if you see lift, if you see the combined strength of all cargo tie downs must be strong enough to lift 1 and 1/2 times the weight of a piece of cargo tied down. And then, all right, well, you get the point. All right, so cargo should have at least one tie down for each 10 feet of cargo. Make sure you have enough tie downs to meet this need. No matter how small the cargo, it should have at least 2 tie downs holding it. All right. Okay. There are special requirements for securing various heavy pieces of metal. Find out what they are and if you are to carry such a what they are if you are to carry such a load. Header boards. Front end header boards, headache racks, protect your cargo in case of crash or emergency stop. Make sure the front end structure is in good condition. The front end structure should block the forward movement of any cargo you carry. Covering cargo. There are 2 basic reasons for covering cargo: to protect people from spilled cargo and to protect the cargo from the weather. Spill protection is a safety requirement in many states. Be familiar with the laws in the states you drive in. To check laws for PA, refer to the Pennsylvania Vehicle Code, Title 75. You should look at your cargo covers in the mirrors from time to time while driving. A flapping cover can tear loose, uncovering the cargo. And possibly block the view of someone else. Sealed and containerized loads. Containerized loads generally are used when freight is carried partway by rail or ship. Delivery by truck occurs at the beginning and or end of the journey. Some containers have their own tie-down devices or locks that attach directly to a special frame. Others have to be loaded onto flatbed trailers. They must be properly secured just like any other cargo. You cannot inspect sealed loads, but you should check that you do not exceed gross weight and axle weight limits. Cargo needing special attention. Dry bulk tanks require special care because they have a high center of gravity and the load can shift. Be extremely cautious, slow and careful. Going around curves, making sharp turns, hanging meat, suspended beef, pork, lamb in refrigerated truck can be very unstable load with a very unstable load with a high center of gravity. Particular caution is needed on sharp curves such as off ramps and on ramps. Go slowly. Livestock can move around in a trailer, causing unsafe handling with less than a full load. Use false bulkheads to keep livestock bunched together. Even when bunched, special care is necessary because livestock can lean on curves. This shifts the center of gravity and makes rollover more likely. Oversized loads. Over length, over width, and overweight loads require special transit permits. Driving is usually limited to certain times. Special equipment may be necessary, such as wide load signs, flashing lights, flags, etc. Such loads may require police escort or pilot vehicles bearing warning signs and or flashing lights. These special loads require special driving care. All right. That's the end of 3. Okay. See here. And tomorrow we'll get into, let's see here. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. All right, air brakes. This is a pretty short section, really. All right, so we'll start with the video. Okay, this section covers air brake system parts, dual air brake systems, inspecting air brakes using air brakes. Okay.
Building your business online? Go to Wix.